5 years passed like a dream for humanity. In the New Dawn cluster, cities rose from empty worlds. Gardens bloomed where there had been only rock and dust. Children who had never known the Council grew up free, learning their own history, building their own future. But beyond the outer rim, the galaxy was burning. The Vorks had watched humanity leave. They had watched the Council crumble. And they had smiled their terrible smiles, because they knew their time had finally come. The first attack came 6 months after the human withdrawal. 100 Vorks warships appeared in Council space, destroying everything in their path. The Council sent their own fleets to stop them. Without human commanders, without human tactics, those fleets were slaughtered. "This is impossible," the Morith Admiral said as his flagship burned around him. "We have fought the Vorks before. We have always won." "No," his dying officer whispered. "Humans won. We just watched." The Vorks pushed deeper into Council territory. World after world fell to their black ships. The ancient species tried to fight, tried to run, tried to hide. Nothing worked. They had spent so long letting humans protect them that they had forgotten how to protect themselves. Admiral Dohan heard about the war from long-range scouts. He gathered his officers on the bridge of the Soul's Pride and showed them the reports. "The Vorks have taken 30 Council worlds," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were not. "They are moving toward the core systems. At this rate, the entire Council will fall within 2 years." Captain Hana studied the tactical maps. "They are using human tactics. They must have captured some of our old training materials." "Yes," Dohun agreed. "But they are using them badly. A human fleet of half their size could stop them easily. The Council could have stopped them too, if they had learned anything from us. But they did not learn. They only copied." Young Junho, now a lieutenant, spoke up. He had changed much in 5 years. The boy who had cried for his dead friend was now a hardened officer. "What should we do, Admiral? Should we help them?" The room fell silent. Everyone thought about what the Council had done. They thought about New Bizin. They thought about the years of disrespect and betrayal. They thought about the children who had died because the Council valued peace with monsters more than human lives. "No," Doan said finally. "We will not help them, not yet. Let them see what the galaxy looks like without us. Let them understand what they threw away." Across the New Dawn cluster, most humans agreed with this decision. Why should they help the people who had betrayed them? Why should they spill more blood for masters who had never respected them? Let the Council burn. It was what they deserved. But not everyone felt this way. Yuna sat in her home on New Earth, watching reports from the war. She saw cities burning. She saw children running from Vorik soldiers. She saw millions of innocent people dying because their leaders had been fools. "They are not all bad," she told her daughter Mina, who was now 15 years old. "The Council leaders treated us terribly. But the common people, the ordinary citizens of those worlds, they never hurt us. They are dying because of decisions they did not make." Mina thought about this. What can we do? If we go back, they will just use us again. Maybe, Yuna admitted. Or maybe this time it will be different. People learn from suffering. Perhaps the Council has finally learned. A year later, the Council sent a message. It was not addressed to any human government. It was not a formal request through proper channels. It was a simple plea, broadcast to any human who would listen. "We were wrong," the message said. "We treated you as servants when you were our partners. We used you as tools when you were our teachers. We let your people die to protect our own. For this, we are sorry. We do not ask for forgiveness. We do not deserve it. We only ask for help. Not for us, but for the innocent ones who are dying. Please, we have no one else to turn to." The message was signed by every remaining member of the Council. The ancient races who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years were begging. President Taiho called another meeting of the United Assembly. The debate was fierce. Many argued that humanity should let the council die. They had made their choice when they sold human worlds to the Vorks. They had made their choice when they stood by while human children burned. But others disagreed. Commander Hyan, whose sister had died at New Bizen, stood and spoke. His niece Era, now 10 years old, stood beside him. "I have more reason to hate the council than anyone," Hyan said. "They killed my sister. They made my niece an orphan. Every night I dream about New Bizen burning." He paused, looking down at Era. But my sister would not want revenge. She would not want more children to suffer because of what was done to her children. She would want us to be better than that. She would want us to be human. Ara tugged at his sleeve and whispered something. Hyan nodded and lifted her up so everyone could see her. "My mommy saved me," Era said in her small voice. "She pushed me into the shelter so I could live. If we can save other mommies and other children, we should do it, even if we are angry. Because being angry is not as important as being kind." The hall was silent. A child had said what the adults were afraid to admit. Revenge felt good, but it did not bring back the dead. Only kindness could build something new. The vote was close, but in the end, humanity chose to help. Not because the council deserved it. Not because the council had finally apologized. But because helping others was who humans were. It was what made them different from the ancient races who had forgotten how to care. Admiral Doan led the fleet himself. 300 human warships jumped into council space, their weapons hot and their crews ready. The Vorks did not know they were coming. The council had kept the secret well. General Doan, as he was now called, sent one transmission as his fleet arrived. It was broadcast on all frequencies, so the Vorks would hear it too. "This is the Human Defense Force. We have come to end this war. To the Vorks, you have one chance to surrender. Take it or be destroyed. To the council, stay out of our way. We are not your soldiers anymore. We are not your servants. We are humans, and we choose to help because it is right. Remember that. Remember it forever." The battle lasted 3 weeks. Human tactics cut through Vorks formations like knives through paper. Human weapons tore apart Vork ships. Human courage held the line when everything seemed lost. By the end, the Vorks empire was broken. Their fleets were destroyed. Their leaders were dead. Their dream of conquest was over, but humanity did not stay. When the fighting was done, General Dahan gathered his forces and prepared to leave. "Wait," the Morth delegate begged. "Stay with us. We need you. We will give you anything. Seats on the council, control of our fleets, whatever you want." Dahan looked at the ancient creature with something like pity. "You still do not understand. We do not want power over you. We do not want to rule you. We want to be free. And we cannot be free if we are part of your council." "Then what was this?" the delegate asked. "Why did you help us?" "Because you needed help," Dahun said simply. "Because innocent people were dying. Because we are human, and humans help those who need it, even those who do not deserve it." He turned and walked back to his ship. Behind him, the council delegates watched in silence. They had been given a gift they had never earned by people they had treated terribly. It would take them a long time to understand what that meant. Back in the New Dawn cluster, humanity celebrated its victory, not with pride, but with quiet satisfaction. They had proven something important. They had proven that strength was not about domination. It was about choosing when to use power and when to walk away. Young Era stood in her new garden, watching flowers bloom under an alien sun. Her brother Juno stood beside her. He had finally started speaking again, 2 years after New Bizen. "Do you think the council will be different now?" he asked. Era thought about this. She thought about her mother, who had died saving her. She thought about the council, who had learned the hard way that humans were not tools to be used and thrown away. Maybe, she said, maybe they will remember. Maybe they will be better. And if they are not? Ara smiled, the same smile her mother had worn in her garden on New Bizen. Then we will be here, building our own worlds, living our own lives, showing the galaxy what humans can do when they are free. Above them, the stars burned bright with possibility. And somewhere far away, the ancient races of the council looked up at the same stars and wondered how they had ever been foolish enough to think that humanity was the weak link. Humanity had never been the weak link. They had been the chain itself. And now they were free. The Great Withdrawal began on a Tuesday, and it changed the galaxy forever. Admiral Doan sent the first orders at dawn. Every human ship in council space was to return home immediately. Every human soldier was to pack their belongings and leave. Every human engineer, doctor, scientist, and worker was to gather their families and head for the outer rim. The council laughed when they heard. Let the humans go, they said. They will come crawling back within a month. What can such a young race do without us? They stopped laughing by the end of the first week. On the planet Morth Prime, the great factories fell silent. These factories had built ships for the council for 1,000 years. But the machines that ran them were human designs, and the humans who maintained them were gone. Morth engineers tried to keep them running. Within 3 days, every single machine had broken down. This is impossible, the Morth High engineer said, staring at the silent assembly lines. These machines worked perfectly yesterday. Yes, his assistant replied, because humans were here yesterday. They made adjustments we never recorded. They fixed problems we never noticed. We thought we understood these machines. We understood nothing. The same story repeated across the galaxy. On Veth worlds, the hospitals went dark. Human doctors had been treating diseases that Veth medicine could not touch. Human equipment had been keeping thousands of patients alive. When the humans left, they took their equipment with them. Thousands died in the first month alone. Yuna oversaw the withdrawal of human knowledge. She had spent decades teaching other species what humanity knew. Now she spent weeks making sure they forgot. Delete everything, she told her team. Every database, every research file, every training manual. They wanted us to be their servants. Servants do not leave gifts when they quit. Some people thought this was cruel. Yuna did not care. She remembered New Bizen. She remembered the council ships that had blocked their own soldiers from saving human lives. Cruelty? The council had taught humanity everything it knew about cruelty. The star maps were the hardest thing to erase. Humanity had spent 50 years exploring the galaxy, charting new routes, finding new resources. All of this information was stored in council databases, where it had been shared for the benefit of all species, except the sharing had always gone one way. The council took human discoveries and gave nothing in return. Now it was time to take those discoveries back. Engineer Seung-ho wrote the program that erased the maps. He was a quiet man who had spent his life making things work. Now, he spent 3 days making sure nothing would work ever again. Are you sure about this? His wife asked him on the last night. Her name was Jiyeon, and she was worried about what would happen next. If we erase the maps, they cannot trade. They cannot travel. Billions could suffer. Seung-ho thought about this for a long moment. Do you remember my cousin Minho? He was on New Bizen. He had 3 children. The youngest was 2 years old. Jiyeon nodded. She had met Minho once at a family gathering. He'd been a kind man with a loud laugh. The Vorix killed him, Seung-ho said. They killed his wife. They killed his children. And the council said it was necessary for peace. So yes, I am sure. Let them suffer. Let them feel what we have felt. He pressed the button. Across the galaxy, centuries of human exploration vanished in an instant. The Council realized the truth too late. They sent messages begging humans to stay. They offered new treaties, new promises, new seats at the table. Commander Hyan read these messages and deleted them without reply. He was too busy caring for his orphan niece and nephew to waste time on Council lies. Captain Hannah led the final convoy out of Council space. 10,000 ships, carrying every human who had ever lived among the stars. They flew in perfect formation, a river of light flowing toward the darkness beyond the outer rim. "Where are we going?" young Era asked. She was sitting on Hana's lap, watching the stars go by. Hyan's niece had been placed in Hana's care after her uncle was assigned to the rear guard. "Somewhere new," Hana told her. "Somewhere we can build our own future. Somewhere no one will ever tell us what we are worth." Era thought about this. "Will there be gardens?" "My mommy had a garden." Hannah felt her heart break a little. "Yes, sweetheart. There will be gardens. The most beautiful gardens you have ever seen. I promise." Behind them, the Council was falling apart. Without human engineers, their ships began to fail. Without human soldiers, their borders became weak. Without human scientists, their medicine and technology stopped advancing. The Morth delegate stood before the Council chamber and spoke in his grinding voice. "We must bring them back. We must apologize. We must give them whatever they want." "Give them what?" another delegate shouted. "They are gone. They took everything with them. There is nothing left to give." "Then we are doomed," the Morris said simply. "We have depended on humans for 50 years. We have forgotten how to do the things they did for us. Without them, we will die." No one argued with him, because everyone knew he was right. Beyond the outer rim, humanity found what they were looking for. A cluster of young stars, untouched by Council maps, rich with resources and possibilities. They called it New Dawn, and they began to build. Admiral Dohan watched the first colony ships land on the first new world. He was tired, so tired. 50 years of war and service had taken everything from him. But seeing those ships, seeing the children running down the ramps into the sunlight of a new sun, he felt something he had not felt in decades. Hope. "This is our chance," he said to Yuna, who stood beside him. "Our chance to be something more than what they made us." Yuna nodded. "No more council. No more masters. Just us, building our own future. It will not be easy," Dohon warned. "We are alone now. If we face trouble, no one will help us." Yuna smiled. It was the first real smile she had worn in years. "We have always been alone, Admiral. The difference is now we know it. And knowing is the first step to becoming strong." Across the New Dawn cluster, humanity spread out and began to grow. They built cities and farms, factories and schools. They made new discoveries and invented new technologies. They raised their children without fear, without shame, without anyone telling them they were not good enough. And far away, in the heart of Council space, the old races watched and worried. The humans had been gone for only 3 months, but already everything was falling apart. They did not know it yet, but the worst was still to come. Earth had never seen so many ships in its sky. They came from every corner of human space, military vessels and civilian craft, freighters and passenger ships. Millions of people who could not travel in person watched through screens. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future. The United Assembly met in the Great Hall in Seoul. 2,000 representatives from every human world sat in their seats, their faces heavy with grief and anger. On the screens above them, billions more watched and waited. Captain Hana stood at the center of the hall. She was young for such an important moment, only 32 years old. But she had been chosen because she spoke truth without fear. She had been chosen because she carried the voice of all the soldiers who had died for the Council's wars. "You have all heard what happened at New Bizen," she began. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. 300,000 of our people lived there. Today, 40,000 survive. The rest are dead, killed by the Varks, killed while Council ships held back our forces, killed because the Council decided our lives were worth less than their peace. The hall was silent. On the screens, Hannah could see people crying. She could see people holding their children. She could see old soldiers with medals on their chests, their faces dark with fury. "For 50 years, we have served the Council," Hannah continued. "We have fought their wars. We have died on their battlefields. We have given them our best and brightest. And what have they given us? Nothing. Less than nothing. They have given us chains made of promises and painted with lies." A representative from Mars stood up. His name was Woojin, and his brother had died at New Bizen. "What are you suggesting, Captain? What can we do? The Council has more ships than us, more technology, more everything. If we fight them, we will lose." Hannah shook her head. "I am not suggesting we fight them. Fighting is what they expect. Fighting is what they want. We are their soldiers, remember? They're attack dogs. If we attack, they will put us down and tell the galaxy they were right about us all along. Then what?" Another representative called out. This was Yunji, from the colony of New Inchin. "Do we just accept this? Do we let them sell more of our worlds to our enemies?" "No," Hannah said, and her voice grew stronger. "We do something they never expected. We do something that will hurt them more than any war ever could. We walk away." The hall erupted in whispers. Walk away? What did that mean? How could humanity just walk away from the galaxy? President Taiho stood from his seat. He was an old man, 78 years old, and he had led humanity for 12 years. He had always counseled patience with the Council. He had always said that things would improve with time. But even he had limits. "Explain, Captain," he said. "What exactly do you mean by walking away?" Hannah took a deep breath. "I mean, we leave. All of us. Every human ship, every human soldier, every human scientist and engineer. We take everything we brought to this alliance, and we go somewhere the Council cannot follow. We let them see what the galaxy looks like without us." "That is impossible," a voice called from the crowd. "We depend on Council technology, Council trade, Council protection." "Do we?" Hannah asked. "Or do they depend on us? Think about it. Who fights their wars? We do. Who builds their newest ships? Human engineers. Who discovers their latest medicines? Human scientists. The Council acts like they are doing us a favor by letting us serve them. But the truth is, we are the ones holding them together." Admiral Doan rose from his seat. His presence filled the room like thunder before a storm. "She is right. I have commanded the Council's combined fleets for 20 years. Without human crews, half their ships cannot function. Without human tactics, they would have lost 3 wars in the last decade alone. They need us far more than we need them." Diplomat Yuna spoke next. Her voice was tired, the voice of a woman who had spent her life fighting a battle she could not win. "The same is true in trade and science. Human innovations drive Council technology forward. Our agricultural methods feed 100 worlds. Our doctors cure diseases that their ancient medicines cannot touch. They call us young and foolish, but they copy everything we create." The whispers in the hall grew louder. People were starting to understand. For 50 years, humanity had been told they were lucky to be part of the Council. Now they were seeing the truth. The Council was lucky to have humanity. President Taiho raised his hand for silence. "What you are suggesting would change everything. If we leave, we cannot come back. The Council will not forgive us. We will be alone in the universe." "We are already alone," Hana said. "We have been alone since the day we joined them. The only difference is, now we stop pretending otherwise." The president looked around the hall. He saw the faces of his people, angry and grieving and desperate for change. He saw the faces on the screens, billions of humans waiting for someone to speak for them. He saw the future that awaited his grandchildren if nothing changed. He thought about New Bizen. He thought about the mother who had pushed her children into the shelter. He thought about the thousands of other mothers who had not been so lucky. Then he made his decision. President Taiho stood straight and tall, the way he had stood as a young soldier long ago. He looked into the cameras, knowing that every human in existence was watching him. And he spoke 3 words that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. "We walk away." The hall exploded. People were crying, shouting, hugging each other. Some were afraid. Most were relieved. All of them felt something they had not felt in years. They felt free. The vote that followed was almost unnecessary. Representatives stood one by one to add their voices. Colony after colony, world after world, they chose the same path. When the final count came, it was unanimous. Every single human world had voted to leave the council. That night, Admiral Dohan addressed the military. "Pack everything," he ordered. "Every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology we brought with us. We leave nothing behind. Nothing they can use. Nothing they can study. We disappear, and we make them wonder how they ever survived without us." Yuna sent one final message to the Council. It was short and simple. Humanity resigns from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. All treaties are void. All agreements are cancelled. Do not contact us. Do not follow us. Our partnership is over. The Council received the message during a routine meeting. The ancient species read it with confusion at first. Then the confusion turned to amusement. The young race was throwing a tantrum, they thought. They would come back when they realized they could not survive alone. They had no idea what was about to happen. They had no idea that humanity was not just leaving. Humanity was taking everything with them. Every invention, every discovery, every piece of knowledge that humans had shared with the galaxy. The Council had treated humanity like servants for 50 years. Now they were about to learn the true cost of losing those servants, and it would be a cost they could never afford to pay. The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and dreamed of what waited beyond. When they finally reached the stars, they found they were not alone. The galaxy was full of life, full of civilizations that had existed for millions of years before humans learned to make fire. The Galactic Council was the great power of the universe. 12 ancient species sat on its high seats, making laws for 10,000 worlds. When humanity first made contact, the Council looked at them the way a grown man looks at a small child. Humans were young. Humans were weak. Humans were nothing special. But the Council saw something useful in these strange creatures from the small blue planet. Humans could fight. More than that, humans would fight. While other species calculated risks and measured outcomes, humans charged forward with a fire in their hearts that the old races had lost long ago. Admiral Dohan remembered the day humanity joined the Council's alliance. He was just a young officer then, standing proud in his new uniform. The Council promised partnership. They promised respect. They promised that humanity would have a voice among the stars. 50 years had passed since that day. Dohan's hair was gray now, and his face carried the weight of countless battles. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Soul's Pride, watching the stars drift by. Behind him, a fleet of 300 human warships waited for orders. Admiral, his second-in-command, said. Her name was Sujin, and she had served with Doan for 20 years. The council is asking for our status. Doan did not turn around. Tell them we are ready. We are always ready. That is what they pay us for. The mission was simple. The Keth, a race of insect-like creatures, had attacked a council colony. The council wanted the Keth stopped. They did not send their own fleets. They never did. They sent humans. In 50 years, humanity had fought in 47 wars for the council. They had defended worlds they had never seen, protected species that looked down on them, and buried their dead on planets whose names they could not pronounce. The council called them valuable allies. Dohan had another word for what humans had become. Soldiers for hire. Dogs of war. On the planet below, millions of Veth people waited in fear. The Veth were tall and thin, with silver skin and forearms. They had been council members for 600,000 years. In all that time, they had never learned to fight. Why would they? They had humans now. Launch all fighters, Dohan ordered. Tell the ground forces to prepare for landing. We end this today. The battle lasted 6 hours. Human pilots flew through storms of enemy fire. Human soldiers fought through streets filled with death. When the sun set on the Veth world, the Keth army was broken. 3,000 humans died to save a planet that was not their own. Dohan walked through the ruined city after the battle. Veth civilians watched him pass. None of them said thank you. None of them even looked him in the eye. To them, he was just a tool, a weapon that had done its job. A young human soldier sat against a broken wall, crying. His name was Junho, and he was only 19 years old. His best friend had died in his arms an hour ago. Sir, Junho said when he saw the admiral. He tried to stand, but his legs would not hold him. I am sorry, sir. I should not be crying. Doan sat down next to the boy. You lost a friend. Crying is not weakness. It is proof that you are still human. Why do we do this, Admiral? Junho asked. Why do we die for people who do not care about us? It was a question Doan had asked himself many times. The answer he had been taught was simple. Humanity needed the Council. The Council had technology that humans needed. The Council had resources that humans needed. The Council had power, and humans had to earn their place. But lately, Dohan was not so sure. 50 years of service. And what did humanity have to show for it? A seat at the table where their voice was ignored. Trade deals that always favored other species. A reputation as the galaxy's attack dogs. Back on Earth, a woman named Yuna asked the same questions. She was a diplomat, one of humanity's representatives to the Council. For 30 years, she had tried to make the other species see humans as equals. For 30 years, she had failed. Yuna sat in the great council chamber, surrounded by beings that lived for thousands of years. The Morith delegate was speaking, its voice like grinding stones. It was proposing new trade rules that would hurt human colonies. The human worlds have enough, the Morith said. They do not need more. They should be grateful for what they have. Yuna stood to speak. With respect, these new rules would damage our economies. Our people would suffer. The Morith turned its ancient eyes toward her. Your people are young. You do not understand how the galaxy works. Trust in the wisdom of your elders. Around the chamber, other delegates nodded in agreement. The vote was called. The rules passed. Human concerns were ignored, as they always were. Yuna returned to her quarters that night and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Admiral Doan and his soldiers were fighting another war. Somewhere out there, human blood was being spilled to protect creatures who saw humanity as nothing more than useful servants. She thought about her daughter, Mina, who was 10 years old and dreamed of being an explorer. What kind of future waited for her? More wars, more disrespect? More sacrifice for nothing? For the first time in her career, Yuna began to wonder if humanity had made a terrible mistake. They had joined the council hoping to find friends among the stars. Instead, they had found masters who smiled while they used humanity and threw them away. But change was coming. Neither Yuna nor Dohan knew it yet, but the galaxy was about to push humanity too far. There is an old Earth saying, even the most patient dog will bite if you kick it enough times. The council had been kicking humanity for 50 years. Soon, they would learn what happens when humans stop being patient. The Varix Empire had been quiet for a century. They lived in the dark spaces between stars, a race of warriors who breathed poison and dreamed of conquest. The council had fought them long ago and pushed them back to their shadowed worlds. But the Varix never forgot. They never forgave. And now they were growing strong again. Commander Hyan received the news while he was visiting his sister. Her name was Bora, and she lived on a small human colony called New Bizin. It was a beautiful world with green mountains and blue oceans. 300,000 humans called it home. The council wants to meet with the Vorix, Hyan told his sister as they walked through her garden. They say there might be a way to make peace. Bora laughed. She had the same laugh as their mother, who had died in a council war 20 years ago. Peace with the Vorix? The Vorix do not want peace. They want everything we have. Hyan nodded. He knew his sister was right. The Vorix were not like other species. They did not negotiate. They did not compromise. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not take. The council knows this, Hyan said. But they are afraid. The Varix have built new fleets, new weapons. The council does not want another war. So they will give the Varix something to make them happy, Bora said. Her voice was bitter now. That is how the council works. They give away other people's things to buy their own safety. She was more right than she knew. 3 weeks later, Hyan stood in a council chamber and listened to words that made his blood turn cold. The Varix had made their demands. They wanted territory. They wanted resources. They wanted human colonies. The Varix have requested control of 17 human worlds, the council speaker announced. His voice was calm, as if it was discussing the weather. They say these worlds belong to space they once controlled. They want them back. Hyan stepped forward. Those are our worlds. Our people built them. Our children were born there. Yes, the speaker agreed. But the council must think of the greater good. War with the Vorix would cost millions of lives. If we give them these small worlds, there will be peace. Small worlds? Hyan could not believe what he was hearing. New Bizin has 300,000 people. Sol Station has 500,000. These are not small worlds. These are homes. Around the chamber, the ancient species watched him with cold eyes. The Morith delegate spoke in its grinding voice. Humans have many worlds. You can spare a few. This is the price of peace. The price of your peace, Hyan said. Not ours. You are not giving away your worlds. You are giving away ours. The debate lasted for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The council had already decided. Humanity had no real voice here, no real power. When the vote came, it was 12-1. The 17 human worlds would be given to the Vorix. Hyan sent a message to his sister that night. He told her what had happened. He told her to start evacuation. But he was already too late. The Varix did not wait for official transfer. They saw the council's decision as permission to take what they wanted. Their black ships appeared in the skies of New Bizin just 2 days later. Bora was in her garden when the first bombs fell. She grabbed her 2 children, a boy named Juno and a girl named Era, and ran for the shelters. Around her, The beautiful world she had helped build was turning to fire. "Mommy, I'm scared," little Era cried. She was only 5 years old. "I know, baby," Bora said, holding her daughter tight. "But we will be okay. Help is coming." But help was not coming. The council had ordered all fleets to stay away. They did not want to anger the Vorks. They did not want to risk their precious peace. Hyan watched it all from his ship, just outside the system. He had brought his squadron, ready to fight, ready to save his sister and her children. But council ships blocked his path. "You cannot pass," the council commander told him. "The ceasefire is in effect. Any attack on Vork's forces will be considered an act of war. They are attacking our people." Hyan screamed into the communication channel. "They are killing children." "The transfer is happening faster than expected," the council commander replied. His voice showed no emotion at all. "But it is still a transfer. The council has spoken." Hyan watched his sensor screens with tears in his eyes. He could see the Vork ships bombing the cities. He could see the small dots of escape pods trying to flee. He could see the Vork's fighters hunting them down. On New Bizan, Bora made it to the shelter with her children. But the shelter was too small for everyone. Too many people were trying to get in. A Vork's bomb hit nearby, and the ground shook like an earthquake. "Take them!" Bora shouted to an old man near the shelter door. She pushed Juno and Era into his arms. "Take my children inside, please." The old man nodded and pulled the children into the shelter. The door began to close. Bora tried to squeeze through, but there was no room. The last thing she saw was her daughter's face, crying for her mommy. The bomb hit 2 seconds later. When the Vorks finally left New Bizan, there was nothing left. The green mountains were burned black. The blue oceans were choked with ash. Of 300,000 humans, only 40,000 survived. Hyan found his niece and nephew 3 days later. They were in a refugee ship, scared and alone. Era kept asking for her mother. Juno, who was 8 years old, did not speak at all. He had not said a word since the day his world died. "I am sorry," Hyan told them, holding them both. "I am so sorry. I tried to come. They would not let me come." The council sent a message of sympathy. They said the Vorks had acted too quickly. They said there would be talks about better behavior in the future. They said humanity should be proud of its sacrifice for peace. Hyan deleted the message without reading past the first line. Across human space, the story of New Bizan spread like fire. People learned that the council had sold their worlds to monsters. They learned that their own soldiers had been held back while their families died. They learned that to the council, human lives meant nothing. Something changed in humanity that day. For 50 years, they had told themselves that the council was necessary. They had told themselves that service would lead to respect. They had told themselves that things would get better. Now they knew the truth. The council did not see them as partners. The council did not even see them as people. To the great ancient races, humans were tools to be used and thrown away. Admiral Doan heard the news while his fleet was returning from another war. He locked himself in his quarters and did not come out for 2 days. When he finally emerged, his officers saw something different in his eyes. The loyal soldier was gone. In his place stood something harder, something angry. "Set course for Earth," he ordered. "Maximum speed. The time has come for humanity to decide what it wants to be." The line had been crossed. There was no going back.